Hello, good evening. Welcome to my next video. This one's a little bit different. It's certainly not an old watch I'm restoring. This is new. All this was bought brand new from Aliexpress, which is like a Chinese uh, warehouse. You can buy everything from there. Some of it's really, well, most of it's really cheap. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good. This is me building a watch completely brand new from Aliexpress. You can see the case there. It's sort of a oyster-esque type, like a Rolex. It's absolutely a gem. It's stainless steel. It's highly polished. It feels like the top quality. I've had a Omega Speedmaster, and the quality of the case was outstanding. But more later, you just saw a bit of a glimpse of the movement there. That's an H34. That's a Seiko clone, I think, or an unbranded Seiko. That's the movement, and I've got in the small petri dish. I've got the hands. I've got 4 hands on this because it's what they call a GMT, which gives you 2-hour settings, or very similar to that. And so I decided to build one. As I say, we've got all new parts, all in one order. I'll tell you the prices. The watch case, which is outstanding, was less. It was £28, less than £30, £28. The movement was 26, and as you can see, I selected two dials in the blue and green. The green, I know it's a bit Rolex-esque, but I thought it would suit it. But as you can see, I did install that and change my mind, and I ended up with the blue. Again, those dials were £12 each. They'd be 60 to £100 in the UK. The clone, it does say Seiko on them, but I'm sure they're not Seiko. They are a clone, but I'm not advertising it as a clone. I'm not selling it as a Seiko. I'm not advertising it as Seiko, I should say. It's just what they sell on AliExpress. So as you can see there, it's got a very Rolex type case, and it's got a Rolex type back on. Whereas to get the back off, you need like a very fine socket. It's like fine teeth all the way around, and you need a socket type, which I bought a small set for it, and that was only £8. I think they're about £80 in Cousins, a big supplier for the UK for watch and clocks. What I'm doing now, you can see the straps. It's all cased up in that thick cellophane. So I'm taking the strap off because I did think about selling this watch, but I'm not. So I'm taking the spring bars out to take the strap off, and all that, even the clasp on this, remained on the strap, which joins on your case. It's one solid piece of polished steel. It's outstanding quality for what it is. You just can't touch them. I don't know how they made that for less than £30. It's a one-way rotating bezel, which is more desirable. That's the toolkit I showed you. They are for Rolex watches, and you fit a socket on there. It fits in. Mine wasn't tight, but I couldn't do it with my 8-ball, so I didn't want to scratch it. It's all covered in cellophane. And at this point now, I'm looking at it first time, taking it all off, and I'm dead. Really impressed. All that silver you see, all that steel rather, the sides, it's all solid, highly polished. I mean, it's beautifully polished. You get an O-ring sealing. You get your crown, and that's a screw-in crown with a double seal. So I can't test for waterproof. That's probably my next thing. But I suspect it is. But I shan't wear it. It might get out. I might wear it out when I'm in the rain or when I'm on my push bike, or I don't know, maybe watching the past or something like that. But it's not going to be. I'm certainly not going to scuba dive and wear it. There's the movement. It's very similar to I say it's a Seiko model. I don't know if the unbranded Seiko or it's just a Chinese clone, but runs well. It's just the date on this one, and because I bought that dial, it's got different attachments for different type of watches. So there's some sort of feet, what we call feet on the back, little pins what bolts onto, and you have to select which one's yours. So that's what I'm doing here. But there was also a problem, and this is what you get with AliExpress. That will not fit on there. That centerpiece, where all the hands attach, the cannon pinion and all that sticking up in the middle, is too small because it's got four hands. It's got 2 hour hands. The bottom one is quite wide, and it won't fit through there. And now I'm just, I'm scratching my head, thinking, oh, what's gone wrong here? And it's a dial, and dials, you don't really want to be touching them at all. And so I was flapping a bit, and what I had to do is ream the middle out, and there was no way around it. Reaming it is, I've got very smooth, very sharp set of very, very small needle files, and I just had to just keep rubbing it, and taking it out. It did make, it's a brass, the base plate on a dial is normally brass, so there were a lot of filings come off. I was a bit concerned, and it is a bit rough if you look under a microscope around the edge, but you'll see when the hands cover it anyway. So I'm just thinking, have I got it wrong? Is there any option I can do without having to file the dial, which is not good. I'm editing this post-op because of all the editing what's been took over. So I shall just talk my way through it as we go along. But if you're interested in all this, you don't have to buy a complicated one like this. You could just buy a watch with date. They even do electrical ones. Electrical ones are unbelievably cheap. But you can build your own watch for less than £50. All in, this has probably cost me about 65 to £75. But also with AliExpress, all my tools like the wooden tweezers I've got there, the screwdrivers, the watch case, the watch dial cases, all the little peripheral tools what you've got to have when you're taking it up seriously. You get them from AliExpress. Even the cushion that sits on, it was just a few quid. I mean, just a few quid. It takes a week to come. I'd say an average is 7 days. Sometimes I've had it in 6. Sometimes I've had it in 8. The only problem is on the returns. If something's wrong, and sometimes it is, the translation's not that good, or you don't see it, you don't read it proper, it's the devil of a job to send back. I've never sent anything back. I'll either sell it or just suck it up. What I'm doing there, that's the GMT hand. That's the second hour hand, and I've drilled the dial and milled it out, and the dial is on there. As you can see, I've done the green one, and I put it on, and it was very, very, very tight. This was the first time it's been on, and I had a devil of a job to get it on flat and get it on deep. And when I did finally get it on, it was a little bit too deep, and it's got quite high integers. That dial has those marks. They stand proud by a small amount, and it was hitting them. So bit fiddly, but as I said before, it's a watch. What do you expect? So I'm just trying to push it on there, just so when I move it around and put it under the press, it doesn't slip off. I use my press, but all this is really, I'm wasting my time here because I don't know it yet. And I think you'll agree. Let me know what you think about the colour of the dial, if you want. And this is all for nothing because it all comes off again. But that tool there, it's £180 for that tool. I got it off AliExpress, and ironically, it's the same tool as what you pay £160 for. I paid with delivery and VAT because you have to add your tax on. It was 80 something pound, and it's a really stable platform for pushing hands on, because I struggle putting hands on. I either push them on too far and they catch the dial, or not enough and they fall off. But with that press has made it a lot easier. You've got a lot more control. So I'm just getting it all back on. And that second hand, I did think I was going to have to open that up a bit. It really struggled the first time I put it on. It's been on and off a couple of times, and so I think it must have opened up or bent to shape because they went on as normal after this first attempt. So it's just getting it on. and fiddling around. But the watch itself is running well. There we go. You can see the green dial up. Uh, I don't know what you think of that. And that's the blue. And obviously half of that dial is blue. And so it's in. I should have thought of that really. It's in tune with the dial. That looks a lot better. I thought. And say if you think different, let me know. So I thought, right, bugger it, it's got to do it again. But this is the same dial, so that had to be bored out as well. But I used my lathe on this one. I put it on a very, very slow speed, and I put a small drill bit in there. I think it was 2.8 mil diameter it needed to be, and I had it flat in my hand, and I used my lathe, so at a very slow speed. I didn't drill it out. I just sort of worked it out. So and I'm taking it apart again here. I'm going to change the dial. But this is not about that. This is about what you can purchase. You can do this. You'd need a set of tweezers and a set of small screwdrivers, and they can't weigh Aliexpress, and you can build your own watch. And it's 10 times better than wearing some you watch with no personality, just nothing. Well, but they come in a fancy box. You don't get a fancy box for this. It comes in a baggie, and you open it up, and there's your bits. But you've built it up, and I think a lot of people like that idea. To consider they've built their own watch. Okay, you haven't built the watch, but you've assembled it. If you want to be, if you want to be pedantic about it, but it's still a nice feeling. You've been in there, you know your watch a bit more intimately. You know how it works. I did have that on the time grapher. It was excellent figures. It was just it running a bit quick. Beta was okay. So I did have half an hour, maybe not that, on the time grapher. But when I finish it off, I did give it another run because by then it's about a week old. So it's all going okay. I do worry with the crown and the stem later on because it's a wind in. You shove your crown in, and then you wind it about 2 millimeters, and it locks up, closes the seal. But the shaft wouldn't go in, so I had to cut it really, really, really fine. I was a bit worried about it, but it did work. But it was just a lot of messing around. But I think that's because it was GMT as well. But if you went on there and just bought a 23 movement, an H23 or something like that, and a standard watch case. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say this, but you can even buy uh, watch dials which are copies of Rolex, which I don't like copies. I wouldn't pretend wearing a watch I'm not. I don't think, yeah. But this, I say I'm not even. This is not a Seiko at all. It's probably a clone. Because I've pushed these hands on so well, I can't get them off. And there's a big stack. As I say, there's 4 hands, and so the normal way I do it, I didn't like it. I didn't want to deform the dial face. So what I'm doing here is taking the seconds hand off on its own. So, and I don't know why, but that froze up. I don't know if it's going to be like that on playback, but that froze up. That's froze up a couple of times. So basically, I'm taking the hands off. But this is not a big problem. And if you wanted to build one, or might be a good idea. I think get somebody for Christmas. Christmas present. Be a great buy. You can buy tweezers and pack of watches, screwdrivers. Sorry, for 10, £20, and you go a project building your watch. You don't have to go inside the watch. The watch is running. Okay, it's just the latter part of the assembly. But I like this one because I made it to what I wanted. I could have bought the case with a cyclops on a little bubble above the date to magnify the date, but I did think that was a bit too Rolexy. And it's not a copy of a Rolex. It's just a nice looking chunky sports watch. I built it up for say I want to say £70, I think, uh, because on my order I ordered a few bits as well. I've got 101 dial cases and storage boxes for all my spare parts. So I mean, it did take some getting off that day because that press I've got worked too well, and I was petrified of scratching a brand new dial. But that's why I've got all these dial cases again from Aliexpress. I must have 20 of them now, and I've got various dials and some of the old ones. But it looks nice. It runs perfect. I've had it on my. I've got it on my wrist now, and the time is 3 seconds faster than what it were when I set it this morning. It's about 8:30. So well, it's probably less than that actually. It keeps excellent time. There's the blue dial. That had the feet already removed for this application, so I was okay with that. But as I said, I had to bore out that centre. It was easy. If it had been an old watch, I wouldn't have cared. It was just that it was a brand new. It was a brand new dial. I didn't want any smudges or scratches. But I had the lathe on very very slow speed, and I didn't drill it. It was more bored its way in. So I'm just making sure that fits in all right, and what clearances I've got. Me looking at it now, I don't know why on earth I chose the green, but I did. So we're back doing this again, but this time it did go a little bit easier because maybe I was a bit more confident in it. But I think it was once they'd been on once with the press tool, I think it had opened them up a little bit to allow me to get it in. So what I did on there, I used my jaw pushing tool to push it on with the jaw. They're for pushing jaws out, but kidnapped it for this one. Get a really good fit around that GMT dial. Just wanted to have a bit more control. They're a bit clumsy using the press, and I did press them on too much. So there's the GMT hand. That's me holder. I've been trying. This is a better holder. That they do fit in there quite well, but they're not tight. They're a bit wobbly. They only sit on a small ledge, about half a mil all round. So not ideal, but they're ideal if you're doing vertical work on it. You know, you're pushing down on it. You can see how loose it is there. But the GMT hand's working. It takes about 3 spins per 5 minutes. So I need to set the GMT hand up correctly and to get the most from it. Currently, I've got it on like 3 hours behind. It's 10 o'clock now. No, 2 hours in front. Sorry. So, but it's going all right. What I'm doing there is I'm setting the clock mechanically to midnight. I've just turned it around so if it had hands on, watch the date. As soon as the date snaps to the next day, you know that watch is obviously mechanically midnight. So you put your hour hand on. And the beauty about this is, well, it's got a hack feature. So when you pull the stem out to set your watch, it stops the watch. So you can set it to the second. You can set it at 12 o'clock and actually wait for it to strike 12. And then when you press it in, it starts. And that's called a hack. It's not a new invention. They've done it since the early pocket watches on trains when they had to, obviously, like in war films, they synchronise your watches. They use a hack to synchronise your watches. So they went on okay, and because it's got a hack, you're not rushing to get it on, because if it takes a couple of minutes to get your minute finger on, obviously you've got to put your minute hand a couple of fingers on, a couple of minutes on, and then it's a bit of guesswork. But hack makes that. I enjoyed it more than I thought because I wasn't under any pressure. But the hands went on here fine. And the stand, I've had that stand for some time. I've only just started using it. I'm thinking, did I enjoy this? Did I like it? And I don't know. it was fine, and I've got a nice looking watch, and I can wear it out if I go out a weekend or something. But it's not like restoring it. I didn't get the satisfaction because you were already working. I was just assembling it. It's a lot better if you've got, to me. I mean, I've ordered. I won an auction 2 days ago, and it's for a late 1960s Seiko. It's a 6390, I believe it is. I think it is. Before the 700 series, so I've never done one before, and it's not running, and it's in a bit of a state. So, and that appeals to me. I bought a very old English watch, a pin palette one, old, cheap, mass-produced one from Smiths. I bought that. I went to a clock show at the weekend, and I bought that for a fiver, and I can't wait to get stuck into that because I like something that's been stood for decades, and and you get it. I mean, maybe when I started doing this, the main thing was getting them running, but now I'm getting them running accurately, and that's a lot harder. Obviously, a watch has got to be accurate, but I was just grateful in early days just to get it running. And this watch is say, we're in a drawer, well, we're in a plastic tray with 100 other scrap watches, and I just saw it, and it's gold plated. So I'm going to have a go at that. And I've got that other Seiko coming. So I don't know. I won't do this again. It's nice. It does demonstrate. Excuse me. It does demonstrate how cheap Aliexpress is and how brilliant it serves this hobby. I think any amateur or even professional, I bet you they've got a drawer full of Chinese tools from. Some of them might not admit it because there's that element, but there's plenty who do, and why not? I mean, I probably won't use that tool again to take the back off. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I can't ever see me getting a Rolex. But you never know. You never know. But for £8, yeah, it's not the end of the world, and that's it. So I've got the hands on there, and I'm just checking. I want to make a good job of that because it's caught me out in the past that the hands aren't, being compromised. They really have to be level. You watch some of my heroes when they're doing it, and it's a 2 second job. But when I do it, the hands jam or they touch each other. The second hand keeps catching and it stops the watch. And I think, oh, for God's sake! So I did, and because this is such a long a long series of arbors to bolt your hour, minute, and your GMT hand on, I had to get it right because if they're not on square, they will run off. They won't run parallel to the surface of your dial, and they will clash at some point. One half of the dial, they're gonna be a little bit compromised. So I've got it in. I'm already liking it. It's looking well nice. The second hand, that is standing up a little bit. It sits on what they call a little pipe, and it's only a quarter of a millimeter. And it's very easy if you don't push them on square. I've done one. I've did one, and I snapped it off because, as I said before, these arbors, they're very hard. The spindles are very, very hard, but with hardness comes a reluctance to flex, i.e., the brittle, and that's not one. And it was annoying because you got to the whole watch apart. You've got to go source a new wheel. So yeah, I was just trying to make sure it's all on there, which it did. It went on the second time around. Went on. It was clearly open, and that's it. We I think what's the next stage was to get it in the case, which was puzzling me quite a lot. This going in the case was straightforward. It was that stem and the length of it when I'd wind it in, when I'd closed it off, not to adjust the watch, but you wind it in to seal it on the crown stem on the threads. That was a bit awkward because you can wind this watch up. It's an automatic, but it's got you can just wind it as a normal watch, whereas the Seiko's the 600 and 700s you can't. You have to wait for them to wind up while you're wearing it. We don't take long before they start running. But so yeah, that was tricky. And the stem comes, too long, and you have to cut it to size. And all I'm doing there is I'm measure this, see the top of the crown stem and the base of the crown, and trying to get it right. Everyone says always cut too much off, because you can always file a bit off. You can't file a bit on, obviously. Did the first attempt, went in where it didn't catch the threads, so I had to go a little bit deeper. And at this point, it's sort of shit or bust time. It's either going to work or you knacker the stem up. And it wouldn't be a big problem. I've got some spares anyway, but it's just you don't know what to do. So I've trimmed it off there. I've just nicked the end off and just burning it on that diamond file. Screwing in the end crown. And it's just getting that right. So it's at the white. It's closed off all adjustments, and it's in the winding mode. But you've just got to be just on the other side of the winding mode. So when I wind it in, it gets on them threads, and it closes the crown, completes the waterproof. And that was tricky. I had to take a little bit off the edge of the stem as well, because just to help me move it down, which did seem to work. So this took, I think it was 3 attempts, to be honest. I don't think it was that bad. But it was nice, when I finally got it, to get it in. One thing I did do, and I didn't notice till I look back on this, is I didn't put a dab of Loctite on the crown. I should have just put a bit of thread lock or something on it. But I forgot. So I've just realised that when I'm watching it, I thought, shit, I'm putting it on. But that's the last one. That's the last problem I had. And it's just biting the threads. I'm thinking, nah. And that was quite satisfying because I'd done it. I thought I'd have to take the crown stem out and put a new one in, but I didn't. So that's why it was completely tight. Looks a Bobby Dazzler. It's the Pepsi type colour, I believe. I think they call this the Pepsi. If it's a Rolex, but it's not a Rolex. So I'm on time grapher now, and I've got the hands on. This is in its running state. So as you can see, there's the watch, just like a Seiko. And there's the figures. I can't see them on this screen because I'm on the edit screen. It's not very small, but the rate was just a few seconds a day. The amplitude was around 250, 240, which is excellent. And there was nominal beat error. I'm turning it now into various positions and seeing what difference it makes. Because obviously a watch on your wrist, it has to tell, it has to be reliable at all positions. You're walking with your hands down your side, you're driving your car, you're walking your dog, the watch is at all positions. So you have to, this dial up, dial down, crown up and crown down. But what you're looking for is just a couple of seconds movement in the rate. Ideally, you're looking for none, but it's not going to happen. So if it's as long as it's, for me, if it's 5 seconds. Okay, so this is it. As you can see, it's a Bobby Dazzler. It looks nice. And if you're interested in building your own watch, just contact me and I can send you any links to the sites. Or if you want one building, have a look. But I hope you enjoy it. It's just, as I say, it's just a laugh. But don't forget to like. And I'll see you next time. Thank you and good night.